Hello, and it's good to have you join us again on Maritime Radar. The role of a freight forwarder, also known as a non-vessel operating common carrier in the maritime industry, cannot be overemphasized. Their key job is to organize shipments for individuals, corporations, get goods from the manufacturer or producer to a market, customer or final point of distribution. International freight forwarders have additional expertise in preparing, processing customs and other documentation in addition to performing activities pertaining to international shipments. This requires requisite training to enable freight forwarders to discharge their duties professionally. The Royal Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarders has to play in repositioning Nigeria's freight forwarding sector to ensure its growth through professionalism and competitiveness are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I'm Norma Obiaswalo. Trade agreements hold immense potential. They also present challenges for Nigerian freight forwarders, which includes complying with varying rules of origin, documentation requirements, and product standards across trade blocs. This can become complex and time-consuming. Freight forwarders must stay informed and up-to-date on the ever-changing trade regulations within these agreements to provide efficient logistic solutions to their clients. Moreover, trade agreements can influence cargo flows and demand patterns, affecting the choice of transportation routes and logistics strategies. Understanding these shifts and adapting to the changing trade dynamics is vital for freight forwarders to maintain a competitive edge. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in Maritime news.
Nigeria's federal government has announced the implementation of the National Single Window System, an initiative aimed at reducing the cost of doing business at Nigerian ports by at least 25%. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, disclosed this during a stakeholders' engagement in Lagos, adding that this move is expected to streamline trade processes, enhance efficiency, and position Nigeria as a competitive player in global trade. Launched April 2024 by President Bola Tinubu, the project is a pioneering cross-government system designed to streamline trade facilitation by integrating and syncing data from various government agencies to improve economic efficiency. Since 2014, Nigeria has twice made efforts to create and implement the single window without success. Nigeria has announced plans to revamp aging port facilities across the country, starting with Apapa and Tinkan Island ports as pilot projects. The initiative is part of a broader effort to modernize Nigeria's maritime sector, boost its competitiveness in global trade, and address the long-standing infrastructure challenges while improving operational efficiency. Nigeria's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, who was briefing maritime stakeholders on the plan, emphasized the importance of private sector participation in developing greenfield ports and other infrastructural projects, suggesting a potential avenue for funding and expertise in the port modernization efforts. He, however, did not confirm the details of the specific upgrades. Liberia's National Port Authority, NPA, has taken a significant step in enhancing maritime safety and revenue generation by commissioning a new department, the Port State Coordination Department. Now, this initiative aligns with Liberia's commitment to adhering to the standards set by the International Maritime Organization to effectively monitor dangerous cargoes entering the country. Speaking at the event, the authority's Deputy Managing Director for Administration, James Bernard, emphasized the critical role of the new department in safeguarding the nation's ports and promoting international compliance. The establishment of the Port State Coordination Department is a proactive measure to ensure that all dangerous cargoes are thoroughly monitored, handled, and documented in line with IMO regulations. This step not only ensures safety, but also increases transparency and accountability in port operations. The strategic move underscores the NPA's determination to modernize port operations and contribute to Liberia's economic development, foster innovation and accountability, while strengthening international compliance for the country's maritime industry.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radar. The federal government of Nigeria, in a bid to increasing efficiencies, improving transparency, and adding value to the economy, enacted into law on the 30th of April 2007 the Council for Freight Forwarding in Nigeria. The Council is charged with the responsibility of regulating and controlling the practice of freight forwarding in Nigeria and promoting the highest standards of competence, practice, and conduct among members of the profession, with the vision of becoming Nigeria's leading transport player committed to the development of a modern, globally competitive freight forwarding system. The Council is dedicated to achieving sustainable economic development in Nigeria through responsible transport initiatives in freight forwarding development and management. Our guest, Kingsley Igwe, Registrar and CEO, Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarders in Nigeria, transport and logistics experts, shares on his blueprint for repositioning the freight forwarding subsector, implementation of the national single window, and more. Stay with us. It's good to have you join us on this show, and it's safe to say congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, stakeholders see your appointment as a way forward, a right peg in the right hole, because you're a practitioner. You are also a transport and logistics expert. But this comes with a lot of expectations from you too. So can you let us into what your blueprint is for the council and the subsector freight forwarding industry?
Okay, that's a very good question. But first, let me start answering your question in this way. Freight forwarding and logistics services largely has not been very prominent in Nigeria. It's emerging. People don't know much about it. And even those who should seek for freight forwarding services also do not know why they need to seek for freight forwarding service. The commonest language they understand is agents.
Clearing agents.
And things like that. So now, but let's talk professionally. Freight forwarding involves all the services rendered in getting goods or the flow of cargo, especially international bound cargo that crosses international boundaries, okay, borders, flow freely across the borders. Now, it involves custom clearing, it involves preparation or documentation of the flow process for the cargo. Now, freight forwarding is a component of logistics. Logistics is the umbrella name or umbrella word for all of that. Logistics is primarily the organization, the planning, the implementation, and the management of that flow of cargo from point A to point B, especially from manufacturing down to the final consumer. So now, having said that, there are a lot of services that comes along with it. Number one is haulage. Number two, warehousing. Number three, custom brokerage. Number four, freight forwarding services, and so on and so on, value-added services and all of that. You're a freight forwarder. I have always simplified this. This is my second definition in Nigeria, so that the common person on the street will understand. You're a freight forwarder if you engage in more than one logistics services.
Of what you've mentioned
Of
now.
what I've mentioned. So, having said that, you find out that freight forwarding is inside logistics. There's logistics in every freight forwarding services. So, basically the council, let me bring you to the council here now. In Nigeria, there hasn't been policies that speaks to administration of logistics services professionally until the establishment of the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria.
2007, right?
In 2007, by the Act 16 of 2007. Okay. Now, this council, CRFFN, is mandated by the Act to regulate all logistics services in Nigeria, to educate, provide education and training for the service providers, logistics service providers in Nigeria, and also to set standard, especially standard of operation and standard of rendering those services, okay, in Nigeria, in line with international conventions, because the industry itself, this logistics service industry, is actually regulated globally. It's not what we say we want to do in Nigeria here that goes. But unfortunately, that has seemingly been the case most times. It's regulated internationally, and the international body responsible for freight forwarding services is the FIATA, and then others. So for council, bringing it down to your question, we have marshaled out a lot of programs for this year,
Okay.
in order to advance all of what I've explained, in order to professionalize the practitioners. And one of it is we are launching and rolling out massive professional training for the practitioners, which is very, very important, very, very key.
Any timeline to this?
As a matter of fact, any moment from March,
Okay.
yeah,
Q1.
yes, we already have started the first
Batch of the training.
Yes. And why we have to do this training is because before now, everyone can just take up custom license, enter the port, and he's becoming a service provider. It's either he's a clearing agent and things like that, coordinating trucking and all of that. And that's all of them call themselves freight forwarding. But it's good for them to know where they belong. And that is where we want to segregate each person.
Okay. So those
What
are
qualifies you is your license.
Okay.
Not because you said you're a freight forwarder makes you a freight forwarder.
Okay.
And we will simplify the process of getting the license for them. Because even the process of getting the license is somehow is cumbersome as well. Most cannot afford. We have actually recognized that fact. So many people don't have to go out of business because they don't have the educational requirement, or they don't have the financial muscles, or they don't know how to get the licenses. They should not worry. We have come up with models that will help them to be professionalized in the service. So this is one of the directions.
Okay, that looks to me like a short-term goal. So
Yes.
what are the medium-term or long-term goal you also have for the council?
Okay, so on the medium term, we are going to actually, just before we launch the training and all of that, we have marshaled out a program that will expand the scope of operation for the council. We need to enhance the policies that identify who and who should be regulated by the council, because currently, just as the name suggests, Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding, so it looks as if only those who are providing freight forwarding or who are called freight forwarders.
Okay.
It goes way beyond that. Okay. So now we are coming up with that policy and probably, seeking prayers from the relevant authorities, National Assembly and the rest of them, to fine-tune some of this scope so that it can be captured under our mandate.
Okay, so what is the role of technology in all this? Because a lot of people maybe can just decide to go online, get a car, and but they want to ship it and needs the services of freight forwarding. So how do you have like a portal where anyone could just go into to identify the real professional freight forwarders?
Okay, so unfortunately, or if I may use that word,
We are due for a break. We are going to take that question. We look at innovation also, and we also look at the single window, but that will be after the short break. Please stay with us.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Maritime Reader, and I still have with me Kingsley Igwe. He is the Registrar and CEO, CRFFN. Before we went on that break, we were talking about technology. So we also want to look at innovations that you are driving to ensure the repositioning of the freight forwarding subsector.
Okay, so one of the technology we want to leverage on is this national single window. Okay. Before the national single window came in, I already have a design which I've been talking to service providers, the tech people, on how to develop it in bringing the the practitioners together in one platform. For example, I used to say it. You want to book Uber, you can do that using your phone. But today, if you want to book for your container transport or haulage, you can't do that. You have to go looking for truckers and all of that. Why can't we do it using the phone? Why can't we do it using our system without stepping out from the office? So that initiative is what we are developing. Not just only for that, for also identifying the genuine freight forwarders, because all of them will have been in that platform. Now, we are building, I've just commissioned my research and statistics department. We are building a national logistics registry. Okay. This contains list of genuine registered practitioners and logistics service providers across Nigeria. So in one shot, you will see them. They will be on our page, on all our platforms, the websites, the portals. You can access them with their license number and their registration number, whichever one. You can easily check their profile and identify with them. Where you are in doubt, we have an open line. You can always call to ask more about the...
Those can be found on your website.
Yes, the particular one you have chosen. So that is that. That's how we are leveraging technology with our initiative.
Back to that national single window, which, according to minister, should reduce port operations by 25%. But we also want to remember that this was introduced in 2014, and it has failed twice. So this introduction by President Bola Tinubu in 2024, what implementation do you think should be improved? The Custom General has been spoken extensively, giving us a history background of the national single window, how it failed, in his view, why it failed, and the way forward. So you as also an agency that's going to be keen into, just as you mentioned, is going to help drive and also going to save a lot of Nigerians from quacks, because a lot of people are importing. They are not regular import people, but they import, maybe they just buy cars, or they just got 10 phones and you want to import and all that. So a lot of issues around it. And for instance, my boss was saying yesterday, you just import maybe a particular brand of cell phone, and is on the port for like 3 months. And before you know it, another type of phone comes, that same phone, maybe another brand of it, and an improved brand comes, your old phone is still in the pot, not cleared. And you know that immediately this new one comes, the prices of that drops. So those are issues that Nigerians face. That is why this conversation is critical, to be able to advise them. So what implementation strategies do you think this time, looking at that it has failed twice, then looking at the impact, which is also, you have also mentioned, of the national single window, to be able to drive this industry. So what implementation from your own end do you think, strategies of implementation, do you think we should be looking at critically, practically, that will work this time?
Okay, so allow me time to break this down. I want to pieces it. This is how the national single window should work, and that is the practical best practice in order for it to work. The key component of the national single window is the customs interface, because that is the center of the whole transaction. We're talking about cross-border transactions here. And at the point of that cross-border transaction is the ability for you to move the cargo out or in. So you must observe all necessary requirements, okay, for that to happen. In Nigeria, most people have this problem. They import, the consignment has a very long, stays a very long time at the port. There are so many factors to that. Let me take it from the cost point of view. Duty. Duty most times is calculated based on the common external tariff that we normally use now. But you understand that Nigeria, the essence of national single window is to facilitate trade established by World Trade Organization. That is the primary essence. One of the tools is to have, for every country to have national single window. And that national single window makes those transactions transparent. It makes the processes standard across the whole nation. It is harmonized with international conventions, and also it is simple for people to use. These are the 4 pillars of that national, trade facilitation agenda of the World Trade Organization. Now, on the single window, cost of import duty should be based on bilateral or multilateral or regional agreement that has been entered between Nigeria and other partnering countries. For example, let's say US. US has the African Growth Opportunity Act, which enables African countries trading with US to be able to transact with preferential treatment to the goods originating from both regions. Now, including import duty on those items. But when you now want to do the declaration, it is not charged based on the provisions of AGOA. For example, this phone you're talking about, it will have, under AGOA, the duty would have been reduced to about 5% or even 0%. But under the common external tariff that we still currently use, the ECOWAS CET, it could be 20 or 30%. And that is what we are still using. So that needs to be checked inside the single window. The same thing goes to other bilateral, regional, or multilateral agreements that Nigeria has with other countries. I'll give you a typical example. In the Southeast Asia, there is this collaboration between ASEAN and China. So ASEAN nations, which comprises Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and the rest of them, about 11 of them, including Indonesia, okay? When you're making declarations are made based on the agreements between the ASEAN nation and China, where duty are being zeroized, not based on their individual country-specific duty gazettes. No, because it will be high. That way, cost of import will be less. People can seamlessly now move their goods across our border without the consignment having to stay at the port for donkey years because of the high import duty. I understand the impact of that. But then you also find out that there is a principle in economics. The lesser the price, the higher the demand. The higher the price, the lesser the demand. And that is why you can see that trade flow or cargo flow at our port today is reduced because import duty is higher, demand is less. Cost of goods in the market is high. So how do you now manage that? It has to be managed in the national single window. And the transparency nature of it, or transparent nature of it, matters a lot. Not that people will be able to go in there looking for something they have heard about and expecting to see, and inside there they don't see it. So every agency had to be transparent in this. Apart from that, I'm just giving custom as an example. There is also the other aspect of it. Preparation for the import requires for you to acquire some kind of document, import permit, import license, and all of that. You need to get it either from SON, from NAFDAC, depending on the item you are importing. So that also has its own cumbersome nature and cost attached to it. All of that has to be checked in the national single window. And primarily, the use of the technology, foreign-based technology, makes the services provided here expensive. And that is why I call for the domestication of the technology in Nigeria. That way, we will have control, it will be efficient, and then it will be cost-effective for us.
We will have control, it will be efficient, and it will be cost-effective. Those are the words of Kingsley Igwe. It's been nice talking to you. It's been mind-blowing, understanding that I am talking to a core professional who understands what he's doing. I hope you oblige us to do this again because there's so many things to talk about. Obviously, time is not our friend. It's been Kingsley Igwe. He is the Registrar CEO, Council for Regulation for Freight Forwarders in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you well
in
all you have set out to do in 2025.
Thank you. All the best.
And that's our show this week. Stakeholders look forward to the implementation of all discussed to ensure the repositioning of the freight forwarding subsector. Every week, join us on Maritime Radar to explore how Africa can make a difference in ensuring the development of the maritime sector. You can also expect the latest in maritime news and industry insight right here. I'm Norma Obiaswalo. Many thanks for your time and see you again next week.